Imagine your own parents turning against you, stealing your $10 million inheritance, and dragging you out of your home by your hair. That's exactly what happened to me. I'm Emily, 25, and my world collapsed when my parents, Linda and Robert, handed my grandfather's fortune to my brother Ryan, then threw me onto the rain-soaked streets of California. The pain was unbearable, my scalp burning, my belongings scattered like trash. But they didn't know I had a secret plan, one my grandfather Henry left me to fight back. His wisdom and love were my anchor, and I was ready to turn the tables. Where are you watching from? Drop it in the comments and hit that subscribe button if you've ever had to stand up for what's yours. This is my story of betrayal, resilience, and reclaiming what was stolen. Growing up in our lavish California mansion wasn't the fairy tale you'd expect. Let me take you back to where it all began, to a childhood shaped by favoritism and a grandfather who saw my true worth. Growing up in our sprawling California mansion, I always knew my family was different. I'm Emily, and my childhood was a mix of privilege and pain, shaped by my parents' blatant favoritism toward my older brother, Ryan. At 28, Ryan was their golden child, handed a shiny Mercedes for his 16th birthday while I got a measly gift card. When he flunked classes, Mom and Dad, Linda and Robert, hired top tutors to bail him out. My straight-A report cards? Barely a glance. Ryan knew he was untouchable. He'd ruin my things, like the time he sabotaged my science project, costing me a scholarship. Mom just shrugged, "Ryan's only joking, Emily. Be more understanding." It stung, but I swallowed the hurt. While my parents chased social status, my grandfather Henry became my rock. Living in the mansion's east wing, he saw me when no one else did. "There's my brilliant girl," he'd say, eyes twinkling, as I shared my school stories. Every weekend, we'd sail on his yacht, Serenity, the Pacific wind whipping through my hair. Out there, he taught me navigation, patience, and life's deeper lessons. "Sailing's like living, Emily," he'd say, hands steady on the wheel. "Sometimes, you tack against the wind to reach your goal. The straight path isn't always the right one." On rainy days, we'd explore museums, my curiosity blooming under his encouragement. While Ryan whined about boredom, I soaked up history and art, Grandpa urging me to ask questions. "That's how you grow," he'd say. As I got older, our talks shifted to business. Grandpa built Harper Industries from nothing, and he saw the same spark in me. Over coffee in his study, he'd explain investments and corporate strategy, his pride evident. "You've got a mind for this, Emily," he'd beam. "One day, you'll take my company further than I ever could." But Ryan's jealousy simmered. Once, he trashed my project just to see me fail, smirking when Mom took his side. It wasn't just sibling rivalry, it was a pattern. My parents built Ryan up while tearing me down, dismissing my achievements as if I didn't exist. Yet Grandpa's belief in me never wavered. He'd tell me stories of his own struggles, how he outsmarted doubters to build his empire. "You're stronger than you know," he'd say, his voice firm. Those moments with him, whether on the water or in his study, gave me a sense of worth my parents never did. I didn't know then how vital his lessons would become. Grandpa's words about tacking against the wind were more than sailing advice, they were a blueprint for surviving what was coming. His faith in me laid the foundation for a fight I never expected. But as his health began to fade, the cracks in our family grew wider, and the storm that would tear us apart was already brewing. Let's go back to the moment everything changed, when Grandpa's final days set the stage for betrayal. Everything changed when my grandfather Henry was diagnosed with terminal cancer. I was 25, and the man who'd been my anchor was given 6 months to live. He fought for 8, his sheer willpower defying the odds. I practically lived in his wing of our California mansion, coordinating with doctors, managing his medications, and reading his favorite novels aloud when his eyes grew too weak. My brother Ryan, 28, barely showed up, only visiting when our parents, Linda and Robert, nagged him. Even then, he'd scroll through his phone, leaving after 15 minutes with some lame excuse. Once, I caught him eavesdropping as Grandpa praised my business sense, his face twisting with jealousy before he stormed off. Linda and Robert were no better, too busy with gala dinners to care, talking about Grandpa's condition like he wasn't even there, ignoring his wishes. In those final months, Grandpa and I grew closer than ever. His voice, frail but fierce, carried the same conviction. One night, he took my hand, his grip surprisingly strong. "Emily," he whispered, "not everyone values honor like you do. I've seen how they treat you, and I've made plans to protect you." Tears stung my eyes as I begged him not to talk like that, but he insisted. "Promise me you'll stay strong, no matter what comes." I nodded, clutching his hand. The night before he passed, he pulled me close, his breath faint. "If things go wrong, look for my message." I prepared for everything. His sharp eyes held mine, a silent vow. By morning, he was gone. The funeral was a hollow spectacle, more about my parents' social status than honoring Grandpa. Ryan played the grieving grandson for the cameras, though I never saw him cry in private. I sat quietly, my grief too raw for display, remembering the man who taught me to sail and to stand tall. A week later, we gathered for the will reading in our mansion's oak-paneled library. The family lawyer, David Carter, dropped a bombshell. Grandpa left me Harper Industries, worth $10 million, and the entire estate. Ryan got a small trust fund, enough to live modestly. Linda and Robert, expecting to control the company until Ryan took over, got only minor shares. The room froze. My mother's voice was venomous, "This is a mistake." My father's face turned crimson, and Ryan's tears were pure rage, not sorrow. I should have felt triumphant, but David's nervous glance at my parents sent a chill down my spine. They exchanged a subtle nod, and I knew something was off. Grandpa's words echoed in my mind, "Look for my message." I didn't know then that his will would spark a betrayal so vicious it would tear our family apart. The air in that library grew heavy with secrets, and the fight for my inheritance was about to begin. Let's dive into the moment my family's true colors came to light, when their greed turned into a calculated plot against me. The moment my grandfather's will was read, my family's mask slipped, and their greed took over. I'm Emily, and the weeks after that bombshell were a chilling descent into betrayal. Our California mansion, once a symbol of luxury, became a house of secrets. Conversations hushed when I entered rooms, doors that were always open slammed shut, and my parents, Linda and Robert, turned icy. My brother Ryan, 28, reinvented himself as the perfect son, fetching coffee for Mom and Dad, all while smirking at me with smug satisfaction. "Don't get too cozy with Grandpa's fortune," he taunted one night, cornering me outside my room. "It won't be yours for long." His words dripped with venom, and I felt the walls closing in. Suspicion gnawed at me. When I tried to access Grandpa Henry's study to review Harper Industries documents, I found files missing, drawers emptied. "Just organizing for probate," Dad lied smoothly, but I wasn't fooled. Late one night, I overheard Mom and Dad arguing behind his office door. "We have to fix Henry's mistake before it's too late," Mom hissed, her voice sharp with urgency. "I'm handling it," Dad snapped. "David Carter says we have options." My stomach churned. David, our family lawyer, was in on it. I confronted them at dinner, demanding answers. "What are you planning?" I asked, my voice steady despite my racing heart. Dad's knife sliced through his steak with precision. "Don't be paranoid, Emily. You're not ready for this responsibility." Mom nodded, her diamond bracelet glinting. "You're stressed, dear. Maybe see a doctor for anxiety." Their gaslighting was relentless, but I saw through it. Desperate for answers, I called my friend Sarah. "Something's wrong," I told her, my voice trembling. "They're plotting behind my back." She urged me to check for missing documents. The next morning, I found Grandpa's safe in his study wide open, stripped of every financial record. Panic set in. I reached out to Susan Harper, Grandpa's retired assistant, meeting her at a quiet coffee shop. She was jittery, glancing over her shoulder. "Your grandfather feared this," she whispered. "He knew they'd contest the will, maybe claim he wasn't sane or you manipulated him." My blood ran cold. On what grounds? I pressed. They've got influence, Emily. Be careful. She fled, leaving me with more questions than answers. David Carter called me to his sleek downtown office, his tone patronizing. Let's be reasonable, Emily. Your grandfather's will has caused a stir. A compromise could benefit everyone. I stood firm. Grandpa's wishes were clear. His smile was thin, menacing. Wishes can be questioned, especially when an old man's mental state is in doubt. Juries find it suspicious when young relatives cozy up to the dying. The accusation hit like a slap, implying I'd manipulated Grandpa. Furious, I hired my own lawyer, Michael Thompson, a sharp estate litigator with no ties to my family. He uncovered their plan. They'd filed papers claiming Grandpa was incompetent, even producing a forged letter supposedly from him, questioning my influence. The betrayal deepened. Ryan's fake charm grew bolder, but his cruelty sharpened. He sent me an email, gloating about splitting the inheritance with Dad if their scheme worked. The mansion felt like a prison. Security codes changed without warning, my belongings vanished from shared spaces, and staff who'd once smiled at me now avoided my gaze. My home office was ransacked, papers shuffled, my laptop moved. You're imagining things, Mom scoffed when I called her out. Their tactics were calculated, painting me as unstable while they built their case. I started copying documents, recording conversations when legal, and storing evidence with Michael. Then came the final blow. One rainy morning, our butler James summoned me to a family meeting. His usual warmth was gone, his eyes averted. In the dining room, Mom, Dad, Ryan, David, and a stranger, Dr. Harmon, a medical consultant, sat like a tribunal. David slid a folder across the table, filled with fake medical reports claiming Grandpa's mind was gone. Worse, they produced that forged letter, supposedly Grandpa's, accusing me of coercion. This isn't his handwriting. I shouted, my voice shaking. It's verified, David lied smoothly. Mom's fake sympathy made my skin crawl. Your grandfather wasn't himself, Emily. Dad's voice was cold. The courts have frozen the assets, and you're out of this house by tonight. Ryan's crocodile tears were the last straw. I wanted to split it fairly, he lied, smirking when no one was looking. Dr. Harmon chimed in, your family's worried about your mental state. I pulled out my phone, showing Grandpa's real medical records proving his clarity. He was sharp until the end. I insisted. Dad's face darkened. Enough. He lunged, not for my phone, but my hair, dragging me down the grand staircase, my screams echoing as Ryan watched, grinning. Mom opened the front door, and Dad threw me into the rain, my suitcase bursting open on the driveway. You're done here, he snarled. As the door slammed, I vowed to fight back. But first, I had to survive. Let's follow my next steps, when desperation led to a discovery that changed everything. Thrown out into the rain, my scalp throbbing, my belongings scattered, I was alone. I'm Emily, 25, and in one brutal morning, my parents, Linda and Robert, stole my $10 million inheritance, handed it to my brother Ryan, and erased me from our California mansion. Huddled under a tree, soaked and shivering, I called my best friend Sarah. They kicked me out, I sobbed. I have nowhere to go. Sarah's car screeched to a stop within minutes, her face pale as she saw my bruised cheek and torn clothes. She took me to her modest apartment, gave me dry clothes, and held me as I broke down. We need to call the police, she insisted, horrified by my father's assault. The next day, I filed a report, but the officer's skepticism was palpable. William Montgomery of Harper Industries? He asked, typing slowly. This sounds like a civil matter. Days later, the DA declined to press charges, citing insufficient evidence. My family's influence was a wall I couldn't breach. Sarah's couch became my temporary refuge, but my parents' reach was relentless. A week later, her landlord called, pressured by threats to evict everyone if I stayed. I'm so sorry, Sarah said, tears in her eyes. They're monsters. I bounced between cheap motels, my $3,000 savings from an internship dwindling fast. Job interviews went nowhere, hiring managers apologized, admitting they'd been warned off by my family's investors. One whispered, "I don't know what you did to the Montgomerys, but they're out for blood." Even my phone buzzed with anonymous texts, likely from Ryan, warning me to back off or else. My parents weren't just stealing my inheritance, they were destroying my ability to survive. When my bank balance hit $300, I pawned my laptop for $400, buying a few more nights in a grimy motel. On my last night, sitting on a sagging bed, I faced a terrifying truth: I might end up on the streets. In desperation, I rummaged through my battered suitcase, searching for anything to sell. That's when I found Grandpa Henry's antique pocket watch, a keepsake I'd grabbed instinctively. Holding its cool gold surface, I remembered his lessons on the Serenity yacht, teaching me to navigate by the sun. "A good watch is more than time," he'd said. "It's a tool for those who know its secrets." My fingers traced the back, noticing a faint seam. On a hunch, I pressed the sides in the pattern of his safe's code. The panel clicked open, revealing a hidden USB drive and a note in Grandpa's elegant script. My heart raced as I unfolded it. "My dearest Emily," it read, "if you're reading this, the worst has happened. I feared they'd betray you, jealous of our bond and your potential. This USB holds everything: my medical records proving my sanity, recordings of our business talks showing your readiness, and secret accounts only I knew. Contact Charles Bennett, he's my trusted friend and will help. Sail against the wind, my girl. All my love, Grandpa." Tears streamed down my face, but for the first time in weeks, hope flickered. I called Charles that night, and he drove to the motel, his kind eyes steady. "Henry knew they might do this," he said, taking me to his countryside farmhouse. There, I plugged in the USB, and my breath caught. Grandpa hadn't just suspected betrayal, he'd documented it. Recordings of my parents plotting to control him, emails between Ryan and Dad scheming to rewrite the will, and proof of their past frauds filled the drive. Most powerful were Grandpa's videos, stating clearly why he chose me for Harper Industries: my ethics, my drive, my care for his legacy. He'd also hidden $2 million in offshore accounts, an emergency fund my family couldn't touch. With Charles and his friend Edward Brooks, a retired partner of Grandpa's, I had allies. My lawyer, Michael Thompson, joined us, and together, we built a plan to fight back. The USB was my lifeline, Grandpa's final gift. I wasn't broken yet. Let's see how the secret weapon turned the tide, as I took my family to court and reclaimed what was mine. Armed with Grandpa Henry's secret USB, I was ready to fight. I'm Emily, and with my lawyer Michael Thompson, we took my family to court to reclaim my $10 million inheritance. My parents, Linda and Robert, along with Ryan and their shady lawyer David Carter, thought they'd won by forging documents and painting Grandpa as incompetent. But we had proof they couldn't bury. In a packed courtroom, Michael dismantled their lies. Grandpa's real doctors testified he was sharp until his last breath, discussing Harper Industries with clarity. Susan Harper, his loyal secretary, swore he signed the will with full intent, naming me his successor. Household staff shocked the room, revealing Mom and Dad's plot to contest the will before Grandpa even died. Our ace was Grandpa's video, recorded months before his death. His voice, steady despite his illness, filled the silence: "I leave Harper Industries to Emily for her ethics and vision. I foresaw this challenge and trust her to prevail." The footage showed him acing a mental exam, crushing their claims of incompetence. Financial experts proved the forged letter came from David's office, created after Grandpa's death. The judge's face hardened as evidence piled up. Ryan tried a fake apology in front of reporters, but I shut him down: "You chose the wrong side." Judge Laura Bennett's ruling was swift and scathing. "Thomas Montgomery's will is valid. The defendant's fraud is undeniable." She ordered all assets returned to me and referred Mom, Dad, and David for criminal investigation. David was suspended, his career in ruins. Outside, my parents begged for a deal, but Michael blocked them: "No contact, or it's harassment." They moved to a modest house, their empire crumbling. Ryan sent a letter, admitting his gambling debts and jealousy. "I was wrong," he wrote, seeking therapy. We met at a cafe, his remorse seeming genuine. "I let them control me," he said, eyes downcast. "I wasn't ready to forgive, but I saw a chance for healing. The victory was mine, but it came at a cost. The family I knew was gone, replaced by truth and justice." Grandpa's pocket watch sat heavy in my hand, a reminder of his faith in me. I'd honored his legacy, but the scars of betrayal lingered. Winning in court was only half the battle, rebuilding my life was next. Let's explore the lessons I learned from this fight, and how they can inspire you to face your own challenges with courage and hope. Winning back my $10 million inheritance was a triumph, but it didn't erase the scars. I'm Emily, and my journey taught me lessons that go beyond courtrooms and family betrayals. First, resilience is your greatest weapon. When my parents, Linda and Robert, and my brother Ryan stole everything and threw me out of our California mansion, I felt broken. But Grandpa Henry's belief in me, and allies like Sarah and Charles, showed me that even in your darkest moments, you can find strength by trusting your worth and seeking support. Never give up, no matter how hopeless it seems. Second, justice takes time but truth prevails. My family's lies, forged documents, fake doctors, seemed unstoppable. Yet, Grandpa's secret USB, with his video and proof of my readiness for Harper Industries, shattered their scheme. Patience and preparation turned the tide. If you're fighting for what's right, gather your evidence, stay focused, and trust the process, even when the odds are stacked against you. Third, healing is an inside job. Winning in court didn't fix the pain of betrayal. Therapy with Dr. Laura Bennett helped me unpack years of neglect and the trauma of that violent eviction. Justice is external, healing is internal. Seek help, whether through counseling or trusted friends, to rebuild your heart. With these lessons, I reshaped my life. I founded the Henry Harper Foundation, funding scholarships for disadvantaged business students, honoring Grandpa's rags to riches story. The California mansion, heavy with painful memories, was sold, and I donated much of the proceeds to support victims of family abuse. I moved to Seattle, closer to Harper Industries headquarters, and bought a modest home, a fresh start. There, I met Alex Carter, an environmental engineer whose passion for impact over wealth grounded me. "It's not about owning a company," he said, "but what you do with it." Our bond, built on shared values, became my new foundation. This journey wasn't just about money, it was about discovering my strength, honoring Grandpa's legacy, and choosing growth over bitterness. I hold his pocket watch now, its weight a reminder of his words, "Sail against the wind." What battles have you fought? Share your story in the comments. I'd love to hear how you found courage when all seemed lost. If this story moved you, hit that subscribe button and share it with someone who needs a spark of hope. Your support keeps these stories alive. Grandpa taught me that our toughest moments forge our greatest strengths. Whether you're facing betrayal, loss, or doubt, know this: you are enough. Keep fighting, keep healing, and keep building a life that reflects your true worth. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Let's carry these lessons forward and inspire each other to rise above any storm.